boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. Well, it's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things ready through a common sense lens. Now, if you were a boy that grew up in the 90s, it was essentially probably impossible to avoid Power Rangers, right? It came out right at the right time for us, and it was just something that was so much fun out there. Obviously, everybody loved the Green Ranger and Jason David Frank and all that kind of stuff. May he rest in peace. And all the kind of fun stuff that went on with that universe, it just came out at the perfect right time. It was played on a lot of our local television stations, and honestly, part of the reason why it was successful is that the show wasn't exactly all that original. If you know anything about the history of the Power Rangers in the United States, you know they were based on the Super Sentai series from Japan out there, and of course a lot of the action scenes you saw were directly from those series over there. It was only the stuff with the American characters, that a lot of that stuff ended up being reshot. Well, boys and girls, for a lot of us out there in the 90s, this was a formative thing. We absolutely loved it. This was a great show, and it was part of our childhood. And now that a lot of us have grown up into adults, we've gotten more into some of the source material that it comes from, whether it be some of the Kamen Rider stuff that a lot of fans are huge for, or just general Super Sentai as well. Well, there's some interesting rumors going on out there that the source material for our beloved Power Rangers here in the United States, Super Sentai, may indeed be coming to an end. Now, given some of these sources are from inside people out there under the condition of anonymity, but the silence from the companies that produce this and control the rights to all of this is deafening to a lot of the fans and has led to much speculation about whether or not the future of Super Sentai after 50 years is officially over, or if it will continue going on and being able to continue inspiring more future iterations of Power Rangers in the United States. Well, as you can see over here from the headline at Bounding Into Comics, after 50 years, Power Rangers Source series Super Sentai coming to an end, or is it? From our dear sweet Spencer McCooley over at Bounding Into Comics, and that is the real question. There's some conflicting reports. There's some information that hasn't been made official yet, so we're kind of confused as to what's going on with all of this. And honestly, at a point right now where Western companies are failing miserably to attract new audiences and give good quality stories out there, if Super Sentai can pull off that exact same kind of thing going forward and keep going with that kind of stuff, this is really the worst time in the world to get rid of it, in a time where Western civilization is so desperately dry for good quality, basic storytelling kind of content. So we're going to share this article from Bounding Into Comics, getting all the juicy details and see exactly what they're saying and what could be the future for Super Sentai, the source material for Power Rangers. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share it with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,300. We're still on our way towards 24. I think we're sitting at like 2,381, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, if there's a comment in the section down below, let me know what you think about all this. Does it surprise you at all that the Super Sentai might indeed be coming to an end? Do you believe this rumor mill nonsense, or do you think it's just that, a bunch of nonsense garbage by a bunch of people just trying out there make their headlines and get above what everybody else is doing? Or do you think this is maybe the right time for it? Do you think this would be a stupid decision for them to cancel all of this with what's going on right now? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. If you support the channel, please check the links in the description as well. All right, from Bounding Into Comics and our dear sweet Spencer McCooley. After 50 years and almost as many teams of color-coded superheroes, it appears to be the iconic Japanese tokusatsu franchise, and I apologize if I butcher any of these Japanese words. Lord forgive me. And correct me in the comment section down below. Franchise Super Sentai, better known to Western readers as the source material from which Power Rangers is adapted, will officially be coming to a conclusion and a definitive end. Or at least it might be. As contrary to popular consensus, there still exists a number of factors that call into question the exact nature of the series' fate. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's one of those things, if the ratings are still going and you need things to make money, why not go it on? That's the real question, and that's one of those situations you got to determine those factors. One such factor in the franchise's curtain call was first revealed not by its longtime production house, Toei, or its home network, TV Asahi, but rather the Japanese news outlet Oricon News. And that's one of those things where you always got to take some of this stuff with a grain of salt. And I mean, it's a channel that covers the rumor mill stuff all of the time. It's one of them situations where, yes, you got to take it with a grain of salt, but if it comes from a reliable source that's have a good track record out there, this might be something to pay attention to out there. Another is that rather being provided this information by any official capacity, Oricon News had it instead gleaned it from supposed interviews with multiple, albeit unidentified, members of the Super Sentai's production team. So it's one of them situations where Sometimes it can be reliable sources. I don't know anything about Oricon News out there, so I don't know what kind of track record they have about being right for these kind of scoops. But as always, at the end of the day, it's still rumor mill, so even for very reliable scoopers, you should still take it with a grain of salt. Furthermore, there's also the curious fact that the outlet's entire report amounted to 2 total sentences. That's another thing that kind of makes you worry about things, boys and girls. But once again, the silence leads to questions. The silence leads to questions. The TV Ashi affiliated Super Sentai will conclude its currently airing installment, number 1 Sentai Gozutsuku, sources familiar with the matter revealed on the 30th. The popular franchise, which began in 1975 with Himitsu Sentai Gorgon, will draw to a close after half a century. And I mean, that's insane that it's been on since 1975 and it just didn't really end up making a big break into the United States until in the 90s with Power Rangers. That is just wild to think about, and I love it. And I mean, honestly, to even see this come to an end like that would be a sad state of affairs, no matter what the reasoning, whether if this is true or not. That's the end of an icon. That's the end of an era, boys and girls. And finally, there's the fact that this article's publication was almost 24 hours after Okrian News reported Bix's delay coming in service, allowing for official channels to provide more information. Both Toei and TVSA have yet to offer any public communications on the matter. So, as to whether or not Super Sentai is truly signing off, the simple point of the fact is no one knows, as all the public has to go on are the supposed whispers of alleged insiders. And obviously, Spencer's coming from this as a viewpoint of a fan out there. He wants to see this stuff do well. He wants to see it, have it go on. He wants to see it continue, and he probably doesn't want to believe the rumors if this is true out there. And honestly, as a fan of many other properties out there, I don't blame him one bit. But let's say for a moment that it was, that after 50 years of nearly straight on TV, the series took a single year hiatus in 1979. Wow. I mean, like as a fan of Doctor Who that's been around for 60 years, that's an insane history. That's an insane work ethic. But that just shows you why Japan's storytelling is crushing a lot of Western stories at this point. As Toei opted to produce their Takutsuki Spider-Man series, one of the world's most seminal superhero franchises was truly actually coming to an end. Even if it were true, it's unlikely that its fate would be so simple. I mean, they're not just going to cut it off. They're going to have spin-offs and all kinds of other crazy stuff going on out there as well. In terms of both business and public sentiment, Super Sentai is just too popular and profitable a franchise to so harshly snuff out. And that's what I was wondering, because at the end of the day, 2 plus 2 does still equal 4, and the numbers would have to make sense in order to completely and totally cancel this. Especially at a time when Takamotsu in general is making the inroads with untapped non-Japanese markets. Kamen Rider, we talked about that earlier. It's one of the first franchises to not only be simulcast in America, but also made in the hopes of appealing to them. I've got some of my friends out there, Ironcaster, shout out to Homeboy, especially if he's watching my video. Kamen Rider, he loves this stuff, and I've been trying to catch up. I've been trying to find the time to get into it, but boys and girls, I got 6 kids. I work 65 hours a week doing this as my full-time job. It's hard to find time to watch all this stuff, but I promise you it's on my list, and what I have seen so far, the couple of episodes I've been able to catch, absolutely loving it. As such, it's more than likely, rather than ending, Super Sentai will form its own henshin and change into a different form, either taking a short break from air. Each series produced nearly back-to-back runs for an average of 52 episodes and a pair of movies. You literally have something coming out every week and 2 movies a year with these guys. And it's been successful for 50 years. Remind me what Disney Star Wars and Disney Marvel's excuse is again. Remind me what anybody's excuse in the United States has been. A grueling schedule to say the least, or refreshing various aspects of identity, such as its name, core team makeup, or overall episode formula, ostensibly in the hopes of keeping the franchise fresh in the face of the ever-changing media landscape. Maybe try to see that, now that they've seen the success of Kamen Rider in the United States, maybe they're like, well, let's try to be more like Kamen Rider, and do that. At the end of the day, I always believe that's a mistake. As some of the mistakes as a DC fanboy, that's some of the mistakes we saw with DC all the time, trying to chase Marvel, when really at the end of the day, Marvel was always steps behind DC. DC was just all stuck in their own head. It was really sad. It was like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Ultimately, while Oricon News' report seems generally shocking on its face, there is simply not enough publicly available information to draw a conclusion either way. But though Super Sentai may end, it won't be happening anytime in the near future, as the current series number 1, Sentai Gurugu, still has about 17 episodes left to go. So obviously this is one of them situations where even if this was the case, they would wait for an official announcement until the series had at least concluded, right? Or at least gotten a lot closer to conclusion. And that at the end of the day is what this really all ends up coming down to. If right now where this franchise and this genre is so hot and so popular, especially into the untapped market of the West, that a lot of these studios and a lot of this Japanese storytelling hasn't been able to break into for decades at this point, then this would be the dumbest thing ever. What do I think, honestly? At the end of the day, based on everything we've read, based on all of the speculation, I think at best, at the worst thing we're going to see happen is a rebrand, right? They're going to be trying to go in a slightly new direction, maybe try to flip things up a little bit, try to find something new, different, maybe a name that'll appeal more to Western audiences, something like that. I don't know. But considering the fact that the popularity of this franchise and this genre as a whole has probably never been higher in its 50-year history, it would be a foolish and stupid mistake to literally throw away something that is working so well. Kind of reminds me of the whole Paramount thing with the Sheridan verse. But at the end of the day, boys and girls, this is all rumor. This is all speculation. And as just your humble common nerd out there, I don't know Oricon's track record on being right about this kind of stuff. But if nothing else, boys and girls, it would be a massive, giant, stupid mistake to completely and totally devastate, destroy, and end the source material for one of the most popular franchises when it comes to Sentai stuff in the United States, Power Rangers. And at a time where it's more popular than ever, boys and girls, I'd put a giant question mark on whether or not you can believe this rumor at all. It sounds more like to me than anything else, this will be nothing more than a transformation for Super Sentai and not an elimination completely. Because at the end of the day, boys and girls, 2 plus 2 does still equal 4, and Super Sentai is absolutely making the fans happy. And when you make the fans happy, it's a resounding success. And the 50-year history proves that beyond a shadow of a doubt. So let's see what happens, Power Ranger fans. I, for one, cannot wait to see what the next chapter of Super Sentai holds in whatever form they decide to have it come back in. Or stick around in, for that matter. A big shout out to all of our subscribers and members out there. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys like and subscribe if you have not already.